Alright, so here's my install of the B-R rev limiter in my 15 Subaru BRZ Limited. That's my BR. I have it routed across there. I took apart the entire underdash, so you'll want to remove the center console. There's 2 bolts in the underneath the cup holder thing if you've got that. And then over there, on the other side, there's a bolt facing this way that you need to unscrew in order to get this entire thing pulled apart. This is pulled. You got to pull all the side pieces off and unscrew it, and there's some clips here that hold this whole underdash piece in. I found this gives you the most space to do this in. Once you've done that, you got your main ECU, which sits right here. You'll want to unbolt that because you are not wiring to this. Yes, I have stuff wired, but that's just my remote start. I have a remote start and GPS tracking, and that goes to your ECU. But what you need is this. You'll be wiring to your ECM, which is behind the ECU. So unbolt your ECU. You can let it hang. Make sure you unbolt your battery. The negative side is the most common to leave unplugged, or you can do both, whatever works for you. Once you get to the ECM, you'll want to remove all the plugs. The very last plug, this very far back one, is the one that you will be wiring your ignition wires to. And that's this plug right here. You can see I've already stripped it back a little bit. It's really, really tight to get to. One of the things that will help make stripping it easier is this. These are really nice, adjustable. Just be very slow and careful when you are stripping back the wire. Go slow so you don't break the wire. That can happen with ECU wires. These wires are actually pretty thick, so it's unlikely you'll break them, but better safe than sorry, because then you'll have to repair that. I like doing this so that you can always go back to factory if you want to take it out. So I'll do military splice. So you'll strip it back like I did here. Take something like this pick tool, and you can push into the wire to make a little hole to do a military splice. So these are the 4 wires you'll tap into. You need 4 separate wires with diodes on each. The stripe side needs to face towards the BR, so that what that does is it prevents a back signal, so that it doesn't mess with the other injectors, and it only gets a signal out to each wire. So you got your white striped light blue, you've got your white striped light green, and you've got your white striped red and your yellow striped red. Those are your 4 ignition wires, and that's what you'll be tapping into. Like I said, each wire needs its own wire and its own diode. So 4 diodes with the striped side of the diode facing towards the BR. That way you don't backfeed to the BR into the other ignition coils. Sorry it's a mess. This will all get cleaned up and it'll look nice. Yours will probably be the same. I tapped power into here first. This is a pretty good power. I don't know how many amps the BR pulls, so I might move this because I normally run my dash cam off this SIG socket. And then I grounded to this factory ground up here. It's a little hard to see right now, but there's a factory ground behind the radio you can use, and all that's working. I just need to wire in. I have 2 diodes in here. I didn't realize I would need 4, so I've got 2 here. I'm gonna wire in 2 more diodes. And like I said, just to give you some reference, just make sure this stripe piece, that needs to face towards the wires going to the BR, so that it can send signal this way to your ignition coil, but it won't backfeed. That's what the stripe does, is it prevents it from backfeeding and interrupting the other ignition coils or backfeeding into the BR. So that's why you need diodes and 4 separate ones. Just make sure you get 4 and wire in 4 with 4 separate wires. And then RPM or tack, you'll want to wire to this harness here. I have it kind of unplugged, sorry. It's a little hard to see back here. There's a tack wire in here. I believe that's black gray or gray red. I'll try to link a PDF Okay, so where I left in my last video was RPM tack. Sorry that cut off there, but I'll edit it later. This yellow wire is your RPM tack. That goes to this harness that plugs in right here. You can unplug it if you want to, might make it easier to move it around and splice it. But that goes to a gray striped red wire, and that'll be our RPM tack. So the other thing I did was I have 2 diodes in there, but I needed to add 2 more. Rather than taking apart trying to add 2 more wires, I don't have extra wire right now. This is kind of what I rigged up. This is gonna be ghetto. This probably looks ghetto as fuck, but it'll work. So this is the main signal wire. This will go to 1 ignition wire, and then there's a diode in here, which you can see I did here. I don't have any small crimp caps, but this I had to use, and then I taped it up real good so I can't touch anything or short anything. I plan on cleaning this up later, but I want to make it work in proof of concept kind of thing first. But you get 1 wire goes to 1 ignition, then there's the diode, which prevents it still gets signal to this 2nd ignition wire, but with the striped side of the diode going this way means it won't backfeed. And this way, this one will be unaffected, but it still gets signal to this wire. That way both of these have signal going out. And then there's another diode back there, which means it can't get interrupted anywhere else. So they all have their own signal and they won't interfere with each other. Kind of what I did. I know this looks bad and ghetto. Some of you electricians are gonna complain. I did car audio for a while, so that's my background. I'm not a mechanic. But this will hopefully clean up later once I've got it proof of concept working and I know it works. And then these wires, as I showed earlier in the video, these will all be military spliced. Best option would be to solder them. I don't have a portable soldering iron, so I'm just gonna military splice electrical tape, and then you can use zip ties to make sure the tape doesn't fall off. And then to button it up and clean it up even more, you can use this nice fabric tape. Make it look more called Tessa tape. Make it look more factory. Yep. So I'll clean all this up. Hopefully it'll work. Make a video on that as well. Sorry, I know it looks bad, but this was what works for me until I can clean it up. All right. It might be a little hard to hear me, but just got done kind of washing the outside of my car. Is pretty dirty, but I got it all installed. So far what this does is like they say in the videos, is the intensity of the pops. This seems to work a little weird on these cars. Maybe that's because I still have cats, but I don't care about if those blow out, whatever. I'm not worried about those. You can go in catless eventually anyways. This is with the way I have it hooked up is clutch is my 2nd. So right now this is clutch out. While you're in gear driving, this is your rev limit. I think I have it at 6,500, which is fine. The power band falls off around there anyways, so that's good. This is with the clutch depressed fully in. Right now I have it at 3. This might be a little hard to hear it, but maybe it'll pick it up nicely. A lot of people do like 1. But it's slower when it's supposed to be faster, so I don't know what's going on there. Seems to be revving faster in the letters. So you get something like that.